Welcome to Rathalos Watch. This is going to be part 2 of the Monster Hunter Wilds monster roster breakdown. This video will provide an updated total count of all monsters, including both large and small. We'll start by covering the large monsters first, followed by the smaller ones. After all that, I will give my personal take on what I think so far of the monster roster, and then I will proceed with predictions on what we might be seeing in the near future and when we might see it. If you are looking forward to Monster Hunter Wilds or just like Monster Hunter in general, then make sure to subscribe. Without further ado, let's begin. Monster number 1, Chatacabra. Chatacabra is our new amphibian friend that resides in the Windward Plains. It is the very first monster that you will fight in Monster Hunter Wilds in terms of the chronological order of the story and encounters. He uses his tongue to attack enemies and also licks his own forelimbs to buff himself up by giving itself armor and more strength by applying stone and other earthen materials, which is kind of a cool concept. In terms of visuals, it's probably the closest we've ever been to an actual looking frog, with Chatacabra being a close second. We're not 100% sure yet if it can appear in other locales, such as the Scarlet Forest. So far, we've only seen Doshaguma making an appearance there, but not Chatacabra, so the answer to that question remains to be unknown. For a very early game monster, I think he's a good introduction based on everything I've seen of him so far. Monster number 2, Doshaguma. Doshaguma is a brand new fanged beast that utilizes the newly introduced herd mechanic. The largest of the group is the alpha leader who commands the pack. However, the alpha can be easily lured out using a luring pod or even a large dung bomb. In terms of looks, it looks like a giant grizzly bear mixed with a lion due to its mane and a mole rat for its face. Probably the most grounded and believable monster so far in all of Monster Hunter Wilds when it comes to realism. While Doshaguma is indeed a native to the Windward Plains, we have also learned that it's actually a nomad and can be found roaming in different locales. In this example, we can see a non-alpha Doshaguma getting into a fight with Lalabarina, who resides in the Scarlet Forest. It seems that Doshaguma will be traveling alone when it comes to appearing in different locales, and full-on herd packs will reside in the Windward Plains. It has now also been confirmed that Doshaguma is going to be the second monster that you fight in the story in terms of chronological order, with the Chatacabra being the first based on the playable TGS demo, just like I theorized in my previous monster roster video. Overall, I like the simplicity and realism of Doshaguma. It's sort of like the Engineth equivalent of Monster Hunter Wilds. Monster number 3, Balahara. Balahara is the first brand new Leviathan that was introduced to Monster Hunter Wilds. He is a sand dweller and is the new monster that fills the niche of someone like Cephadrome and Nibblesnarf. Whether those two are going to be in Monster Hunter Wilds or not remains to be seen, but I do not believe so. From a visual perspective, he's essentially a sandworm with some clam-like features when it comes to his mouth and eyes, definitely inspired by the Dune movie and books. It's safe to assume that Balahara won't be making an appearance in any other locales, since this monster seems to be closely tied, swimming in the sand. I doubt that Balahara is able to dig underground in more regular environments like the Scarlet Forest or the Oil Well Basin or the other ice locale if there is one. However, maybe there is some sort of an ice or fire subspecies of Balahara in higher ranks, or maybe G rank eventually. We won't know until later down the line. Balahara is most likely the third monster that we are going to fight in the storyline in terms of chronological order. Out of all the monsters, I think Balahara is decent, but it's probably my least favorite so far. Monster number 4, Rathalos. The first apex predator to be revealed for Monster Hunter Wilds, and is also the first brand new flying wyvern. Rathalos is the big boss on Windward Plains, so you do not want to mess around with him until you are ready and well equipped. He is quite chaotic and will fight whatever it is in front of him by utilizing his sharp blades that are part of his wings. He also has lightning powers and will gladly use them during turf wars against other monsters and his prey. I like his visual design a lot and probably would say that he is one of my favorite monsters introduced to Monster Hunter Wilds. He kind of reminds me a lot of Rathalos mixed with Seregios and a little bit of Zenogre. I also really like his demonic looking face with all the horns and blades protruding on the sides of his face. It's safe to assume that he will be the fourth monster that we face in Monster Hunter Wilds in terms of chronological order, although that might also be incorrect simply because of the new monster that was just introduced by the name of Quematrice. And I'm not sure if Quematrice is going to be a mandatory hunt or an optional hunt. We will talk about Quematrice more in detail a bit later in the video. Monster number 5, Lalabarina. Next up, we have Lalabarina, who resides in the Scarlet Forest and is a brand new Temnoseren that will be making her debut in Monster Hunter Wilds. She is an arachnid that is quite elegant and likes to move like a ballerina, hence the name Lalabarina. She can also use paralysis against the hunter and her prey. My favorite part about her is how she can turn herself into a rose when she enrages, and her animations are unlike anything we've ever seen before. She moves like a true spider that is quick and sudden. Capcom did a fantastic job in terms of bringing real-life spider behavior and movement to her character. I think she makes a great addition to the roster. I highly doubt you'll see her in any other locales, such as the Windward Plains. As a spider that she is, she needs her silk and webs, and I do not believe Windward Plains is a fitting environment for a spider. As far as when we will encounter her, I am not sure, probably somewhere in the low rank when we first arrive at the Scarlet Forest. I'd imagine she would be the first Scarlet Forest native we'd be facing, or maybe the second. Monster number 6, Quematrice. Here comes Quematrice, who was recently announced at the State of Play back in September, right before Tokyo Game Show 2024. Quematrice is a brand new brute wyvern who happens to look like a giant rooster. Quematrice draws inspiration from a mythological creature known as the cockatrice from the Greek mythology. If you are curious to know about his visual design, then make sure to check out my visual design rating video by clicking on the card in the top right corner. Other than that, he is a monster that is native to the Windward Plains and is a scavenger who heavily relies on finding carrions, or also known as carcasses. He doesn't hunt or kill other monsters unless he's attacked. Quematrice utilizes his tail to stir up fire and burn things to the ground, which is an interesting mechanic. However, it seems that Quematrice is not very good at self-defense and easily gets jumped by a group of hungry and hostile tail-oths. It's safe to say that this is the only time you will see Quematrice engaging in combat. We do not know yet if Quematrice will appear in other locales, or if he's exclusively going to be residing in the Windward Plains. However, him being a scavenger who's looking for leftovers in order to survive would suggest that he can be found in other locales. I'm not exactly sure when we will be facing this monster. He's most likely going to be a mandatory hunt, and the only reason why I say that is because in the State of Play trailer, we get to see a whole dedicated cutscene with Palicos running away from him and then bonking him on the head with a hammer. That looked like his introduction story in-game cutscene, so I do not believe he's an optional hunt. Whether we fight him before or after Raid Out also remains to be seen. Last but not least, we now finally know that Quematrice armor set belongs to the bow weapon showcase that we saw earlier back in August. Previously, I made the prediction that it belonged to a snake wyvern. Other people said it was a bird. While they were technically correct that indeed it was a bird, it still ended up being a brute wyvern, so both of the parties predicted it incorrectly. Well played, Capcom. Monster number 7, with Duna. We finally got a reveal for the Scarlet Forest Apex, who also happens to be another brand new Leviathan alongside Balahara, and that is Duna. Duna looks like some sort of a whale-like creature that makes tidal waves to attack and annihilate its prey. It's worth noting that it normally comes out during the downpour, which is Scarlet Forest's inclemency period. It's also protected by the veils by using water, and when you hit them, you will do a lot less damage. So there's going to be some strategy going on exactly how you want to combat this monster. On top of that, this monster also changes its colors completely when the downpour stops, which is really cool. And yes, you can also fight it on land, where it's much weaker and it will be at a disadvantage. I like how the fight can essentially change dynamically on the go. I am really curious to know how Duna reacts and interacts with other large monsters and what kind of turf wars it can get into. One thing I am not sure of is if Duna will appear in any other locales or not, if it is exclusive to Scarlet Forest. I highly doubt it would ever appear in the Windward Plains due to a lack of water. As for when exactly we will be facing this monster, I am not quite sure, but considering it's an apex predator of the Scarlet Forest, probably somewhere near the end of low rank or the start of the high rank. And also, did I mention that the armor for Duna just looks absolutely insane, man? Look at this crazy good looking concept art. Absolutely bonkers, man. The Capcom character artists and armor artists or whatever did an outstanding job. Monster number 8, Arkveld. And then of course we have Arkveld, who is the flagship of Monster Hunter Wilds. Not much really can be said about him other than the fact that he is an unclassified monster, similar to how Gormagala was unclassified in Monster Hunter 4. This monster was previously known as the White Wraith. As a matter of fact, that is his official nickname in the game's storyline itself. However, the monster's real name is Arkveld. A lot of people believe that Arkveld is either a flying wyvern or some sort of an elder dragon. However, Capcom confirmed that elder dragons won't be as prominent as they were in previous titles such as Monster Hunter World Iceborne. We haven't really seen Arkveld in game that much, only the small cutscene snippets from the trailer, so it's hard to talk about its combat style or anything of that sort. We also have no clue which locale it resides or comes from. The only information we have is that he has 4 different chain whips that are attached to him under his wing. These chain whips are obviously going to be used as weapons. I can't say yet if I like him or not, but I think his mysterious origins could be a good story beat. I'm going to need to see more of him before I make judgment calls. However, I would say he is more interesting than Nergigante is in terms of visual design, and on top of that, he is a monster that closely resembles an aesthetic from Monster Hunter Frontier, which is a huge plus. Many people want more Monster Hunter Frontier style looking monsters, and Arkveld seems to be following that direction. We did get Espinos in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Perhaps Capcom is finally opening up to the idea of bringing over the Frontier monsters monsters over to the mainline entries. Monster number 9, Yian. One of the original monsters was announced to be making a return during the TGS presentation of Monster Hunter Wilds in an extended trailer clip. This made me so happy. Not only did we make a prediction that is now a reality that Yian would return in my Shoot X Monster Return to Monster Hunter Wilds series, but on top of that, we got a short glimpse of his new updated visual look. I love the way he looks, but I wish we just had a bit more footage of this silly goofy ass chicken so I can give it a proper analysis. Either way, I'm an OG player of Monster Hunter from the second generation, so seeing Yian was super nostalgic and heartwarming to me. I'm also really glad that newcomers get to finally experience the original teacher monster that taught you mechanics and combat of Monster Hunter. Despite the clip being really short, we did learn that there was a whole flock of docile Yian and that their native habitat is in the Scarlet Forest located on the second floor of the locale. I am wondering how they are going to be introduced to the story and when we are going to get a chance to fight them. It was also confirmed by Capcom over at the New York Comic-Con Monster Hunter Wilds panel that the Yian is now indeed a pack monster like many have predicted. I cannot wait to fight a pack of these goofy ass derpy chickens so I can craft my chicken decapitator and go chop off Quematrice's head off. Monster number 10, Congalala. The prophecy of Congalala has been fulfilled. This monster was teased all the way back in August with the weapon showcases. When the Dual Blades videos dropped, all the veterans instantly recognized the Congalala armor. This was another monster that was actually showcased during the developer livestream demo over at TGS. Capcom decided to be cheeky by randomly going over to the Congalala and then fighting it. They decided to go all out and give us more than just a teaser, which was fantastic. Congalala is one of my favorite monsters. I just loved hunting this thing over and over again ever since I first encountered it back in the day in Monster Hunter Freedom Unite on the PSP. I loved everything they did with this monster in terms of its visual design and overall graphical updates. He looks way better than I expected him to look. If you want a deeper look at his visual design, then please check out my Rating the Visual Design of Congalala video by clicking on the card in the top right corner. It's safe to say that Congalala will not appear in the Windward Plains. It has never appeared in any of the desert locales in previous titles and always resided in more of the forest and jungle-like locations. So it's not a surprise that Congalala made an appearance in the Scarlet Forest. We do not know if Congalala will be an optional hunt or not, but in most games, he is usually a mandatory hunt, so I don't expect it to be any different. Monsters number 11 and 12, Rathalos and Rathian. The next two confirmed large monsters that we know of are Rathalos and Rathian. While we did see Rathalos back in the original announcement trailer all the way back in December, Rathian was also finally confirmed in the panel showing over at New York Comic-Con for a very small fraction of a second. But let's be honest, it was obvious she was coming in anyway. Both Rathalos and Rathian always come in together as a pair, and it's not going to be any different this time around. Monster number 13, Rompopolo. We finally got the reveal for the much anticipated horror-esque hammer monster. As many of us have predicted, including myself, that this monstrosity is not only going to look quite downright disturbing, but it will also be a poisonous monster, and it sure as hell was. It's native to the new locale that was revealed yesterday called Oil Well Basin, and yes, this is the volcanic slash fire themed locale. Rompopolo likes to hang out in the massive oil pits and then come out and creep up on any threats near it and its prey. I love his visual design. This is essentially the Giganox and Keza levels of creepiness factor for the 6th generation of Monster Hunter. Deep down, I'm still hoping that Giganox is in the game, but we are going to have to wait and see. Overall, very solid weapons and armor, and in here we can even see a giant syringe that is a lance made out of Rompopolo. Yes, I can now poke monsters and inject them with poison. Absolutely glorious. Let me know what you think of this French-shaped giant inflated balloon that's filled with poison in the comments. Monster number 14, Ajarakan. Looks like Rizhang has found his long-lost cousin that ended up in a freak accident and managed to escape alive, but is back with a vengeance and is equipped with a fire element and a rocky look. Ajarakan is a brand new fanged beast that likes to hang out on pipes and swing around similar to how Quematrice likes to swing on webs. This is another monster that is native to the Oil Well Basin. We are also not 100% sure if it's a pack monster or not. However, I did want to note that there was a part in the trailer where there were two of them running around the hunter for a few seconds. So maybe there is an alpha leader or something, but we're not 100% sure yet. The official website also has not stated that it is a pack monster, so who knows. I do like the fact that we are getting more fanged beasts, and you guys know me, I love my monkey monsters. I just hope that the existence of Ajarakan doesn't mean that Rizhang won't be in the game. I love to see these two fight. Rizhang will most likely be a title update or a G-Rank expansion edition at this point. Let me know what you think of Ajarakan in the comments. Monster number 15, the Black Flame. Then we have the Black Flame, who happens to be a freaky looking octopus monster and is also an apex predator of the Oil Well Basin. There was very little footage of this monstrosity. I will say though, a flaming octopus is not something I expected to see in a volcanic place, let alone being on my bingo card. I will be very brutally honest, I'm not sure how I feel about this monster. For some reason, it didn't really grab my attention that much. From a creative perspective, it's very cool and looks dope for sure, but I think I would have preferred a more traditional water-based octopus somewhere in the Scarlet Forest. But hey, then we have Duna already with her amazing armor and all that, right? Hey, maybe that's an idea for a subspecies later down the line. It's hard to make a judgment call right now. I'd have to experience the fight for myself and see how it looks, moves, and interacts with the world in person. So in a nutshell, I am not going to be making any final decisions on whether it's my least favorite monster or not. It would not be fair without experiencing the game first. Otherwise, this is a pretty cool looking monster, so kudos to Capcom for creativity. Monster number 16, Switch Axe Monster. The Switch Axe Monster is the only large monster that we have yet to see Capcom reveal out of the weapon showcases videos. We already know it's an ice-based monster since you can see the ice effect anytime the weapon connects and hits the monster. Whether it's a Carapacean or a Neopteran remains to be seen. I just hope it's not another Brute Wyvern because I did not expect Rompopolo to be a Brute Wyvern at all. I don't believe anyone else did either. Many people thought it was going to be some sort of a Bird Wyvern or an Amphibian, but it turned out to be a Brute Wyvern out of all the things, which I find rather odd. So yes guys, hopefully we'll see the Switch Axe monster soon. I'm gonna assume it's gonna be revealed in December in the ice locale, honestly. But yeah, as I said, I believe it's either a Neopteran or a Carapacean. Alright, we are done with the large monsters. We are going to be covering the small ones now. Monster number 17, Kanga. One of the new small returning monsters is the Kanga. Kangas can be usually found around Congalala. I originally thought that the Congalala would be treated like a herd animal similar to the Doshaguma. However, this is not the case here. It seems Congalala can be wandering on its own without the Kanga. You usually find them together in one place, but for some reason they don't seem to act like a whole dedicated pack like a Doshaguma would. There is a difference there, I believe, but maybe I'm completely wrong and Capcom does consider Congalala a herd monster. I am not really sure. Monster number 18, Purican. A new small monster was spotted in the Scarlet Forest by the name of Purican. I am not 100% sure if that is the correct spelling or pronunciation, but what we do know is that they only hang out in the shallow waters. They do not attack the hunters on sight and will only do so if you are injured and sitting at a lower health than normal. So if you are fighting a large monster and you are low on HP and then try to run away, then the Puricans will start chasing you. I think that is a really cool mechanic and it creates an interesting immersive dynamic. Monster number 19, New Small Bird. There was another new small monster spotted in the Scarlet Forest. It was a bird, and you can also use your hook slinger to grab an item out of it called Slinger Bullet, and the description of it says load Slinger Penetrator bullet and fire it. Penetrate the landing site and deal damage, which essentially sounds like some sort of a pierce pot. Thanks to a YouTube comment by Bear So Mellow, who was able to translate the Japanese text into English for this, so shoutouts to you, friend. Sadly, we do not have the name of this bird and we do not know if they can appear anywhere else besides the Scarlet Forest. Monster number 20, Gajao. During the fishing segment of the TGS Scarlet Forest demo, a small returning monster was spotted in the water. It is a fish called Gajao. Gajao originally came from Monster Hunter 3 and made an appearance in every single generation except the 4th generation. Nice to see an old school 3rd gen small monster making a comeback to the 6th generation of Monster Hunter. I'm going to assume they will appear in most locales that have water in them that runs deep enough. Monster number 21, Dalthodon. Dalthodon are the new herbivore ram-like creatures that reside in the Windward Plains. Thanks to the Scarlet Forest demo from TGS, we've now also learned that they're not exclusive to the Windward Plains and can also appear here as well. In the new trailer, we can also see the Dalthodon being used as pack animals that can be tamed at the very beginning. At first, I thought it was a new monster, but then realized it's just luggage all tied up on the Dalthodon's back. You can tell it's a Dalthodon by looking at its crown, and yes, this is in the new locale, Oilwell Basin. Monster number 22, Keranatoth. The Keranatoth are creatures that blend reptilian and pangolin-like traits, featuring tough overlapping yellow-brown scales and prominent spikes along their backs. The larger males, distinguished by their more pronounced spikes, take on the role of protectors for the group, making them a crucial part of the ecosystem in Monster Hunter Wilds. It's safe to say they only appear in the Windward Plains simply because they were nowhere to be found in the Scarlet Forest during the TGS Live Developers demo. Monster 23, Gaijos. We finally got to see more of the Gaijos, who looks like an alligator with a really funny looking saw-like jaw. In the Scarlet Forest footage, the poor Gaijos decided to join the fight between the Duna and the Hunter, only to get paralyzed later and then beaten to oblivion. Previously, they were only seen in the Windward Plains, but the new footage confirms to us that they also reside reside in the Scarlet Forest as well. You can also rip off their tooth and use it as a bleeding pod on a wound on a large monster to deal massive damage. Monster number 24, Balakchi. We finally got to see more of the Balakchi from the TGS 2024 demos. Here is some better quality footage from a Japanese content creator who got to play the story mission mode. Sadly, they do not fight them, but they do get close enough to where we can finally see them in full detail. I really like their visual aesthetic, and it seems they are always in a pack. I have no clue if they attack larger monsters, but it doesn't seem to be the case. We also don't know if they can appear anywhere else besides the Windward Plains. Monster number 25, Baunos. We also got a much closer look at Baunos, who happens to be the new Wing Drake, but unfortunately not for that many seconds, so here I'm just going to freeze the frame so you can get a better look at it here. It's worth noting that you can use your slinger to rip out its throat and use the kill as a sonic bomb. Pretty gnarly and quite useful if you ask me. Monster 26, Taeloth. We finally got to see more of the Taeloth in action. These are essentially the new raptors who reside in the Windward Plains. They like to attack other large monsters. We saw them attacking Quematrice earlier, so here's the clip of that once again. I'm also not sure if they can appear anywhere else besides the Windward Plains, but I don't see why they wouldn't make an appearance in the Scarlet Forest. Monsters 27 and 28, new Raptor X and new Small Monster X. The new trailer also showcased a pack of new raptors we've never seen before. These things have really interesting heads, and we can see them attacking another small set of monsters. Unfortunately, I do not know what the names are of these two new monsters, so this is why I went with new Raptor X and a new Small Monster X. Regardless though, small monsters are still part of the overall monster roster, and I will be adding them to the list. Let me know what you guys think of these monsters in the comments. Monster 29, Aptonoth. We know they are in the game in one shape or form, but we haven't seen them in any of the locales yet. I'm not sure why we haven't seen them yet, but who knows. Here's a picture of the Aptonoth again from Monster Hunter Wilds, in case you haven't seen it being spotted in the Windsong village in the Windward Plains. In case you are new to Monster Hunter, I must let you know that the Aptonoth are an old school monster from the very first generation of Monster Hunter. It is the first monster that you kill for meat and learn how the cooking mechanic works. Fun fact, Aptonoth was missing in Monster Hunter Rise. 30th monster, Sacred. Last but not least, we have our Sacred as the small monster. This monster is an integral part of Monster Hunter Wilds mechanics. You will be spending time with your Sacred pretty much throughout the entirety of Monster Hunter Wilds. The game is now much larger in both physical landmass size and scale, so you need some sort of a creature to traverse, and the Sacred is your answer. And yes, you can customize it and do all that good stuff. How the customization works exactly, we are not sure yet. You can also switch weapons while you're on it, glide by jumping off high vantage points, and even wall run to get across certain platforms. Some areas are only going to be accessible only by using the Sacred. Okay, now that we're done going over the entire updated monster roster of Monster Hunter Wilds, it looks like the total count is now at a total of 30 monsters, including both large and small monsters. If you made it this far into the video, make sure to comment "I love Rathalos watch." So what do I think of the overall monster roster so far? It's obviously not final yet. We have yet to see the rest of the returning monsters, which in my opinion will play an absolutely massive role in regards to the final rating of the roster. But if we are comparing it to Monster Hunter World, the difference is just night and day. Much better variety and way less flying wyverns this time around, thank God. For the record, we have two new Leviathans including Duna and Balahara, two new fanged beasts such as the Doshaguma and Ajarakan, one new amphibian who happens to be Chatacabra, and then Raidao being the new flying wyvern. Of course, Lalavarina is the third new Temnoceran, and then we have two new brute wyverns including Quematrice and Rompopolo. We have yet to see a brand new fanged wyvern, new bird wyvern, new snake wyvern, new Carapacean, or a new Neopteran. Hopefully Capcom has left a ton of cool surprises both in terms of returning monsters and brand new ones. With that being said, I will do another update once we get more of the monster roster revealed, hopefully either next month or sometime in December when Capcom will finally reveal the ice locale, because that's just what I'm assuming it's going to be at this point. We have yet to see what the Switch monster is all about. I'm hoping that they will at least reveal one more or two more returning monsters. I'll be happy if I see Blongonga and Ursula. I think like Icarus will be either saved for pre-launch reveal, or we will just discover him in the game on our own without any kind of marketing material or publicity to surprise the players. I am quite confident that like Icarus does exist in the game, guys. Also, it's worth noting that Capcom seems to show new monsters in a batch first in new trailers, but then sprinkle some returning monsters afterwards randomly. Hopefully they'll drop some sort of a returning monster reveal on Twitter or their social media channels on October 31st. I am not sure if we can expect another round of news or reveals in November, but I am 100% positive we will see something new at the Video Game Awards 2024 on December 12th. Most likely the ice locale along with some new ice monsters and hopefully the return of Blongonga. Anyways, that is it for the Monster Hunter Wilds monster roster update. Let me me know what you all think of the roster so far, and if you are satisfied with how it's shaping up in the comments below. The visual design ratings are coming like always, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe with notifications turned on. Peace out and happy hunting.